Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Wanda M. I'm the author of Anywhere You Run, and you're with Rolling Out Magazine. Meet the author.
What is going on, everybody? Malik Brown again, back here for Rolling Out. Meet the author, and today I'm speaking with an amazing person. Today I'm speaking with Miss Wanda M. Morris. She is the author of the novel Anywhere You Run. Miss Morris, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and please call me Wanda.
Okay, got you. So, Miss Wanda, Anywhere You Run, suspense. That's what it's coming from. Let us know where did you come about this book? What inspired you to write this book?
So after I had finished my first book, All Her Little Secrets, I was looking for an idea to write about. And the country had just gone through the 2020 election. We had just gone through the throes of the big lie and election fraud. And I thought, oh, it would be pretty cool to write about that. But I couldn't figure out a contemporary angle. So I decided to go back to look forward. And by that, I mean, I started to research the genesis of voting rights for Blacks in this country, which really started with the Voting Rights Act of 1965. But as I started to do more research and looked into some of the work that Medgar Evers was doing for Black Mississippians and freedom riders, I decided to go back a year before that to 1964. And I'd had this character kind of rambling around in my head, and I thought, oh, it would be pretty cool to write about her during this time period. So that's how I came up with the idea.
Why do you think it was important, for it to be for this book to come out now? What's so important about it coming out this moment now?
Well, just to give you a little background, the book, Anywhere You Run, it opens with an imagining of the murder of three civil rights workers, Cheney, Schwerner, and Goodman, that occurred in Mississippi. Against this backdrop, Violet Richards is brutally attacked, but she kills her attacker. Now, as a Black woman, she knows she's not going to get justice in Jim Crow South. So she takes off running. And through a series of twists and turns, she winds up in a small rural town in Georgia. Back home in Jackson, Mississippi, her older sister, Marigold, is in a bit of trouble as well because she's pregnant and unmarried, which was a no-no back in the 1960s. When the police show up at her door looking for Sister Violet, she decides, I need to take off too because I'm going to get looped up into this murder. This will also give me a fresh start with her situation. So she takes off running and she heads north. But what the two women don't realize is that that's just the start of their problems, because there's a man from back in Jackson who knows about the murder that Violet committed, and he is hot on their trail with a very unique motive for finding the two women. So the book deals with themes around a woman's right to govern her own body, women's financial independence, racial discrimination, obviously, police brutality, and the church and society's problem with gay and lesbian people. So I wrote the book in an effort to demonstrate that even though the book takes place in 1964, there are some horrifying parallels between what was happening then and what's currently happening right now, particularly around issues of equality at the election polls as well. So there are some startling, like I said, parallels between those issues back in 1964 and what's currently happening today.
And you talk about the things such as racial injustice, and all those things. As a Black woman, just how did it feel, kind of processing those things, in writing this book?
Wow. It felt surprisingly very familiar, if that makes any sense. Unfortunately, when I started writing this book, the Roe versus Wade decision recently issued, or excuse me, the Roe v. Wade decision, which was overturned recently by the Supreme Court, had not been decided. I finished up the book back in the spring, and then that decision came down, and I thought to myself, this is really kind of insane, because I have a daughter who's in her 20s, and right now, today, she has less rights than I had when I was her age, if that makes any sense. So when I was in my 20s, I had more rights than she has today. And so as I was writing this book, I kind of had similar experiences. There is a scene in the book that deals with police brutality. Duh, that's what's happening today. There's a scene in the book that deals with a woman and her her issues around her father and his problem, emphasis, with her being a gay woman. Again, you know, more of the same. So even though these issues have taken place, nearly 60 years ago, we're still grappling with the same issues. We're still dealing with the same insanity. So my hope is that when people read this book, that they will take away from this that we've got to hit these issues head on, that nobody is going to hand us anything. In fact, the rights that we fought so hard for are starting to be whittled away. That Supreme Court decision and overturning Roe v. Wade, excuse me, in my opinion, is just the start of an unraveling, a series of unraveling of important decisions in this country.
And when you pack that all in the book, I mean, for the readers, I mean, it may be tough, but you still try to make it interesting. How are you able to do that as an author? Pack all of that stuff in that that can be emotional for somebody, but still, try to make it interesting.
That's a great question. I think what I try to do is let my characters do the heavy lifting. So instead of me preaching about these issues, I show my characters interacting with one another around these issues. And what's the fallout of these issues for the character? Because even though this story deals with tough issues, there's obviously several murders in the book. It's also too a story about love and loss and family and redemption. And so if I write about characters who, are strong, who are flawed, who are good, who are bad, who are somewhere in between, and they are dealing with these issues, then you kind of come to the book as a reader and kind of make your own conclusions and thoughts about, hey, how would I have behaved, or how would I have reacted had that been me, or had that been the situation that I was placed in? That's what I hope that the readers come with.
Definitely love that. I want to ask you, what is the difference between this book and the other books that you have written in your career? What makes this book stand out? What makes this book different?
Oh gosh. Well, my first book was All Her Little Secrets, which came out last year. And that book was set in the present day. It did have a dual timeline. So it kind of looked back to 1979. But the majority, the working portions of the book were actually taking place in the present day. This book, of course, is set historical, it's 1964, almost 60 years ago. But I think a running theme through both books are the strength and resiliency of women, particularly Black women. It was tough to be a Black woman back in the 1960s. Interestingly enough, in my first book, All Her Little Secrets, I demonstrate that it's also tough to be a Black woman in corporate America. So I think the running theme through these stories is how we still persevere despite some really overwhelming odds.
And I see your two books in the back. Of course, All Your Little Secrets and Anywhere You Run. But the book covers is was really grabbing my attention. Of course, the red in the All Her Little Secrets and the blue Anywhere You Run. Is there any relation to that? Why did you go with the red and blue?
Well, I have to give a shout out to the art director at HarperCollins, who came up with both those covers. They're outstanding. I love the covers for both books. I think the cover for All Her Little Secrets really encapsulates what is inside that book. There's a woman who really wears this facade to the outside world, but that little girl that's inside the sunglasses that she wears really kind of signifies where all her trauma started. And then I think with the blue cover for All Her Little Secrets, I think the whole thought was to capture kind of this period that is what we like to think behind us, that, we've kind of, come to this post-Black presidency kind of world after the election of President Obama. But yet and still, even though it's in the past, much of, what is old is new again. That's what I think when I look at that book cover.
Definitely. I want to ask you the perfect setting to read Anywhere You Run. Is it a coffee shop? Is it in your room? Where do you think is the perfect setting to read Anywhere You Run?
Gosh, I hope that it is the kind of book that's unput-downable so people can pick it up and read it wherever. Just don't read it while you're driving. But I really do hope that it is that type of book where you just become immersed in the story. I did a lot of research to ensure that there was some authenticity to the book, to the setting, to what was going on. Trigger warning, there are some racial epithets in the book, but of course that's the way people talked in the Jim Crow South of the 60s. And so the book would not be authentic if, I didn't include the N-word once or twice in the book. And so I hope that it is the type of book that resonates with people and they can read it anywhere because they are just so immersed in it.
Well, Ms. Wanda, I want to thank you for coming on, speak with us about Anywhere You Run. Before you go, please let the people know where they can find the book, where they can find you if you have social media and, things of that nature.
Absolutely. So I always invite people to go to my website, wandamorriswrites.com. And there, click on the links and learn about both my books, learn about me, sign up for my newsletter. I hope that you will also reach out to me through social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. So I'm on all those social media platforms. And the new book, Anywhere You Run, comes out October 25th. So I will be making some appearances that I'll be posting up on social media later this month. So I hope if, I'm in a city near you that you'll come out and say, hey.
Well, you all heard it here first. Thank you again, Ms. Wanda, for coming on, speak with us about Anywhere You Run. Remember, guys, October 25th. Make sure you get them now, though. You can get them and you get them on October 25th. Thank you again, Ms. Wanda, for coming on Anywhere You Run. We appreciate you and everything that you do.
Thank you, Malik, for having me.
Always, always. Thank you, everybody, for listening to us. This is Rolling Out. Meet the author, Malik Brown, my special guest.